Hey Chef, welcome back to Coaching NainwalPhysics. In the last week, they made some good progress on chess tempo stuff. So they've gotten to 1072 as a peak. The rapid has been kind of stagnant, but that's kind of okay because they had this 100-point gain in like the first week, so it's kind of normal that this is the case. And also their ratings, their tactics ratings in general have been improving. So on here, got all-time high. And even on chess.com, I believe their puzzle rating, they're at an all-time high as well. Yeah, so 1144 today. Okay, now, um, so they did take to heart what I said about spending more time on tactics initially. So we see down here, they did at least 1 minute for a lot of puzzles and they got a lot of green. But then up here we see like every puzzle in this range is under a minute and there's a lot of red. So again, we still see the same pattern where when they're taking less time, they're getting a lot wrong. And so again, I encourage to actually make sure the timer actually says 1 minute or more before making the first move and just think about the position during that time. Try to calculate and see as far as you can. Even if you think you have the solution, just keep checking it, look for other ideas, what you could be missing, because it is making a difference still. Like you take more time, you're getting it right. You take less time, you're getting a lot of mistakes. Okay, and until like that habit is just broken, where you just spend more time and learn more, then you can't really expect too much serious progress. But it is great that in general, your ratings are going higher. They're going in the right direction still, but a lot more could be a lot more progress could be had, I think, if you stuck more to the training program or homework, whatever you want to call it. Okay. And one thing I want to mention, like a skill can be measured by speed or accuracy. So you have to sacrifice one to get gains in the other. And in terms of non-Wallace physics, you I guess you play too fast, so in general that just means your accuracy is gonna suffer. And if you take more time, then obviously that just means you will make more right decisions more often. And then the opposite problem that other people have is they take too much time and run into time trouble. But that's not a thing you really have to worry about, because if you took more time during a game and then you won material, like eventually if you ran low on the clock, you could just go back to playing fast. So um, it's fine to be able to play fast. But when you have enough time to think, you really should use it, and that's going to be like the fastest way to just instantly improve your results. Because you don't have to learn anything, you don't have to do anything else other than just spend more time, and you will play better and gain more rating points. Okay, so, and yeah, I'm not going to read through all of this, but yeah, I do want to check in sometime in a week to see how training has been going. And also to add the game that I played against him as like a link, kind of like I do for these videos, because it also illustrates like taking your time. Because I don't know if people watching thought I was gonna lose on time, but when I played non-wall physics yesterday, but in general, like I was up material, um, just simplify and win the end game. That's all you have to do. Like it doesn't matter. You don't get extra points for having more time at the end of the game. All that matters is that you have enough time to checkmate the opponent. So going low on time but playing better moves and winning material is really good. And then maybe you can speed up a little bit, but not too much, because then you might give the advantage away. But definitely a good strategy, especially against people that play too fast, is just take your time and let them blunder. They're going to have a much higher chance of blundering. And they might be impatient by you taking more time. So there are actually people that will play rapid games and then complain about people taking too much time. Like I've seen it on Reddit a lot, and I've experienced it myself. I don't remember, but I feel like it has happened. On the other hand, there's also people that play 15-second chess and complain about getting flagged. So It's like people don't know how to choose a time control that solves their problem. So anyway, we're gonna take a look at some chess tempo stuff. We're not gonna look at too many of these. I'll just look at some of these that we got read up to here, I guess. So let's start with this one. And we're going to do is going to introduce concept of candidate moves. That's talked about a lot in Tversky's books, and I think Kotov was one of the first grandmasters to really talk about it. But part of the things you don't want to do when doing tactics is to like pick a move and then just get stuck on it. You kind of want to, before you even calculate a whole lot of things deeply, just try to look at all checks, captures, and threats as usual, but just have like the candidate moves is like a list of potential things to start calculating. So if I was looking at the forcing moves, I'd see this and this. These are like the most obvious moves that kind of jump out because you're either taking a bishop for free or you're forking the king and the queen. And so now the question is, okay, well, which one do we do? And to do that, you kind of have to try to, unless you see one that's just really good, you have to eliminate why another one wouldn't work out. So in this case, if we just take a bishop, that's probably going to be wrong, even though in a lot of cases just winning a bishop is fine to win. This is one of those tricky puzzles where we don't have any rooks. So the material balance is actually kind of weird, like probably not what you would expect. And actually just going here and taking the queen is going to get more material. But yeah, some people that get it wrong are probably going for the bishop because they think it's free, but there's actually a better move. Okay, yeah, knight takes h3 was the most common mistake, so they're just going for the bishop. But candidate moves, like you see a good move, look for a better one. If you saw both of these ideas, you would play this to win the queen. You wouldn't just see, oh, free bishop, just take the bishop. Because there's a whole lot of things you didn't really see, because you didn't count the material to see how even things were, and so on. And actually, if I go to analyze, let's see what's happening when you take the bishop. Yeah, it's just saying white's winning. And I think it's because they just have more material. Like it's not even like we have one rook, we have no rooks. But I guess like the pieces, like I'm actually just too lazy to count the material here, but I would guess it's something to do with them having more material. Also, just taking a queen is going to be better in general than just taking a bishop, because I don't even think you're trading the knight for the bishop. You're just trading the knight for the queen. You're just winning the queen straight up. So, it's not even going to get trapped. You always have this or something. Okay, so let's try this one. Keeping in mind the candidate move method. Okay, now in general, like I always say, another thing you want to do is whenever the opponent moves, see what they do if they can move again. I'm seeing this move, and I'm kind of scared because of that. That would be checkmate. But I guess you can defend with that. That still wouldn't be ideal. So it does tell us we have to do something more concrete. Now we can't go here because the bishop could take. Can't go there because the king could take. And this stuff would also hang the queen. This would hang the rook. So all those forcing moves don't work. This one looks interesting because it's defended by the rook. It also cuts off all of these squares. And that would leave them with just this. And then it turns into a typical tactical pattern where, because the queen is guarding this square, when you bring the rook here, it would actually be checkmate. And I'm guessing one of the main wrong move is going to be something like this. They're just giving another check, but they could like block with the pawn or block with this, and then you can't take. Well, you could take, but then they take back with the queen. So I think it's. Oh wait, I didn't even start the puzzle. That might not even been the position. Oh, it is the position. So yeah, I go here, and then I go here. Now let's see what the mistakes were. So you see, on the first move, there's like 34 is the highest mistake with g5, but the actual thing is rook c4 on move 2. So most people do get the first move. And then I saw some people go queen h5. So yeah, people just don't see the checkmate. So just a checkmate in one. And yeah, and this just shows like a kind of move that you don't know what's going on, so you're just gonna give a check. Because there's a whole lot of things. But I guess yeah, this one wouldn't work because they could just go here. And then they're getting checkmated. But they can block with that. And it's not like the game is just prolonged. Even if it was somehow winning still, like it's still nothing compared to this. And chances are it's not winning still after they block somehow or they find the best defense. Okay, let's see, they did this one in 28 seconds. Alright, first thing I see is they're attacking this bishop. I also see, similar to Anastasia's mate, and I do have a video on Anastasia's mate on this channel. I think this one might be called something else when it's the bishop guarding here, but I see like a good rook sacrifice where you take, and then now the bishop is guarding all these squares. So then we go here, the bishop has to block, then we take there for checkmate. And the way to see this, if you didn't know the pattern, is to just look at all forcing moves. So you don't want to just save the bishop, you want to look for what active things can you do. And if you can't find anything, then you move the bishop away. But going here, they have to take, then you go here, you calculate where can they go. Well, they can't go here or here because the bishop. So they're gonna have to give up the bishop and get checkmated. And this was one where they played in 28 seconds and got it wrong. So if you thought longer, you might have been able to find it, or at least it would have helped you learn more. Because if you rush something, you're definitely gonna learn less because it's like maybe you would have thought you would have saw it if you took more time. But then the question is, why didn't you take more time? So that's the whole point of assigning you this kind of training, to take more time and to work on them on this site so I could keep up with your progress. Because imagine now, like, if like I gave you a book to work on, I said do each puzzle and spend at least a minute. Like I would have no way of verifying if you're doing it or not. And then if you're stalling in progress, it's like a coach would have incomplete information on if like the best effort is being given towards improvement. And we saw like in the start, spending more time, got a lot right. Spending less time, getting a lot wrong. So that's still like the thing that I'm struggling to really see perfect consistency on. Because as simple as just setting a timer, or now the puzzles are timed, so there's not really any excuse. So eventually, when you become a much stronger player, or even when you're just doing puzzles on other sites, like you definitely can spend, you don't have to spend at least a minute on them. It's even better if you do just spend less time and try to learn a lot of patterns. But there's like two sides of the tactics improvement. One where you do try to exercise patience and spend more time, and one where you do go fast and learn a lot of patterns. So anyway, bishop b6 was the most common. So going here, I guess to try to take advantage of that. But that doesn't really do anything. Like the king will always have this square. Like you're not really, like this just forces a checkmate. It's important to see that. Okay, let's look at this last one. Okay, first thing I see is this knight is being attacked. Now, in terms of candidate moves, I see this idea, but the knight could take. I also see this queen could take this knight, so that's a forcing move. A lot of people might not consider it because it just sacrifices the queen, but you want to look at all forcing moves, no matter how dumb they seem, and calculate them to the end, so until there are no more forcing moves. So these are our candidate moves so far. Nothing else seems to make sense because this, they could just take a lot of different ways. This, they could just take with that. So I don't really see any other active moves. This, they could just take. And this is like a positional move. Like if this wasn't hanging and you were just in this game, you might do something like double up rooks or something. But combining these kind of ideas, if we take here, the queen goes here, or up a knight but down a queen, and then we can fork and then win the queen. So then in the end, we're just up a knight. We took queens off. So that's what I want to do. Now let's see what the most common mistake is. Okay, knight g4 check. So yeah, you see, like, most players are playing this other candidate move. So it's very easy to, when you start a puzzle, to see if you're looking at all candidate moves, say, okay, it's probably going to be this move or this move, and narrow it down to like 3 moves. And what happens is most lower rated players, they're going to play the one that looks the most obvious, but actually has like some trap or just doesn't work. So like I did acknowledge that this move existed and it was either going to be this or this, but it just does not work because you're just trading pieces here. Whereas this forces the queen here, and then that same idea actually is pretty powerful. Okay, so that's enough of the chess tempo. So yeah, let's take a look at some games. And so we left off, we saw this game versus Dimitri. Now let's take a look at the one versus Artifact 87. Okay, e4 and d4. Again, I always like knight f3, but actually, let me take a look at the. I could try to use like this opening explorer. One day I might make a video um, on it, but I just like the Elite Chess Opening Explorer. So I'm gonna actually go to the Masters database. So they play d4 on move 2. And let's see, so d4 is actually played 35 times in Masters database, whereas knight f3 is played 9,266 times. So usually, although white does do pretty well here, but also black does pretty well as well. So already, like if I'm just looking at what's being played the most, like this is definitely not a common like move that a lot of strong players typically play. Now if I go to Elite Chess database, and let's take a look at rapid games, and not that one, rapid and classical games, and let's say over 2,000. D4 is, actually I don't see it at all. Wait, no, it's somewhere, right? Oh, it's here. So I play more, but still knight f3 has like millions of games. I wonder if I go to 1600, no, still not a lot. So overall, what I'm seeing is d4 is not that common, like especially in terms of like the matchup. There are some, like you could find the 2600 that's playing d4. Actually, I want to take a look at this game just to see like how a strong player typically plays in these lines. Okay, and actually I know NainwalPhysics, he does stuff like c3, and you see even this, that gets even less moves, or fewer, I don't know. But usually they just go knight here. Yeah, it is playable, but yeah. Okay, and also they went f6. I don't know if I talked about this in the last video, but actually maybe I did, because wait, let me check with this game, how this game started. Yeah, so we looked at this game last time, and I mentioned that I like knight f3. The other reason was because when they go f6, you can just sacrifice the knight, and we actually would have had a similar situation here, where if you go here, you go there. And actually, let me bring up the other opening explorer again. So here, and then f6. There's no games in the master database. If you look at the Elite Chess database, knight takes e5. It's not the most common move, but you see it went, like white wins 70%, whereas bishop c4, they only get 61%. You go here, they take queen check, and this is just really good for you. If I look at the engine, you're already winning at this point. I've had mini games that are like this at this rating level back when I was starting out. So I definitely like that trap. And you've had it like twice in a row. You potentially could have had like an easy game just from that move order. Okay. So let's see how the game progressed. Is that a tactical blunder? I feel like because the pawn is only guarded by the knight, and they're attacked by these two things, so you're actually just losing material. So yeah, you're now down a pawn. I guess at some point you could like go here and then get the rook to the 7th rank and get a pawn back. To moving the queen here, just so that then if they're not careful, you push the pawn, move the bishop away, and then that'll be checkmate. Okay, do threaten checkmate at least. Now you do get a pawn back, that's nice. Now I'm looking at queen here because it attacks the knight. So you go there for the fork. Okay. And you can take one of the rooks. And you're trying to trade. Okay, now you're up a pawn at this point. So I do like the whole bring a rook to open file and then trade. So now let's see, how else do we make progress here? Okay, this is logical. You make it so that you cannot get back rank checkmated. But then you move the king over, which is kind of scary. Like you're bringing the king towards the center. And like you see, like their next move just already came with some threats. Like it may or may not really work out, but I don't like that move. I'd rather try to reposition a queen somehow. I don't exactly know how, but the queen is tied to guarding this pawn for now. See, actually, I don't really know what I would do here. I'd probably just move the rook to open file and then figure out what to do after. I guess they have like this queen move. So maybe at some point bringing the rook here. Because again, we're just up material, we just eventually have to get the queen active and then we can look into bringing the rook back into the game later. Or you might even just sacrifice the pawn. The problem with like a move like this and them going here is you can't really take this because of that. So it's kind of difficult to play this position with the rook being unprotected. Because it's fine if you give up the pawn sometimes, um, but yeah, this was fine. And then overall, like you're just doing okay. Okay, at this point, rook here would have been a really good move because one, the knight can't move because it's pinned. But I guess they could just do this to protect things, but then you can go down here. And now you're attacking this pawn. They could go here, possibly. So yeah, but overall, it would probably give you better chances at winning this pawn. But I guess kind of provokes some more weaknesses. Um, I do like actually, you know what? This one would have won the pawn because now the knight still can't move, and now this pawn is gonna fall no matter what. Like they could push it, doesn't matter. So keeping like the pin would have been good instead of this, which let the knight back into the game towards the center and defended the pawn. Then you bring the king in, both bring the king in. This is a game you won, so that's good. And this is good to deflect the knight away from the pawn. And overall, it seems like you just clean this game up. They give up material, and this is really good. So In the game with the upscale bishop game we looked at like a few weeks ago, there was a similar situation where you allowed them to go here and then queen the pawn. So here it was really good. You put the king in front of the pawn, and then you leave the king in front of the pawn, and that was a clean win. So that was like an improvement over that other game that we looked at way back then, way back when. Okay, I lost everything. Okay, so that was against Artifact. So let's take a look at this one. This one you lost. Okay, they bring out their queen early. That's not good by them. They're going for like the 4-move checkmate. Okay, this is logical. And then castle, hopefully, at some point. Okay, you castle that way. So now if they're going to castle kingside, then you're trying to eventually, like, throw some pawns their way and checkmate them. And they're trying to do the same to you. Okay, and this is pretty good. I think you open up the G file so that you can put rooks here and attack their king. And they do castle right into it. That's interesting. I don't know if I would have gone h5. It's probably okay, but I would be trying to double up the rooks or something, because this would just be immediately almost hanging. If the queen moved too far away, you have a rook on the G file, you might even be able to do this move because then they would be pinned. But this doesn't really kind of latch on to anything because their pawn is already advanced. Like even if you push the pawn again, it's not really doing much. It would be different if instead the H pawn was on H2 and their pawn was on G3, then pushing this pawn makes sense because you could trade it and open up lines that way. But now, eventually this move could like kick the knight. The problem is they have this outpost square. Again, outpost squares are as such because you cannot kick them with your own pawns. So that's like a really good square that they can put their knight. Now you do have a knight that could eventually contest it, so that's nice. Okay, you open things up. And they take the knight. Okay. You defend that stuff. Now at this point, you're gonna lose the bishop. It's not the worst thing in the world because this was the bad bishop anyway. Okay, now, okay, so this is where your mistake was. Because you should have recaptured with the knight. And because if you take with the queen, they'll take your rook. If you take here, you can lose this pawn, but then you can also take this pawn. And maybe eventually lose the other pawn, but it's better than what happened in the game because you went here attacking their queen, but they just took a piece. So now they can do an intermediate check and then worry about protecting the queen after. So they did that, and now they moved the queen out the way, and you're just down material. So the game is pretty much over at this point. And so yeah, there's nothing really else that can be done. Okay. This is the one we just looked at, right? Yeah. Let me open. I don't think this 9-move game was anything. Check it anyway. Let's see, what was this 9-move game? Just traded stuff, and okay, so they attacked your knight, and you resigned, I guess, because they're saying you lost. Now, you can actually, so there's a couple things you could do. You can move the knight here, and then if they take, you take back with the bishop. You could also take this bishop, and that's interesting because, let's see. I don't know, I guess if they take here, you can then just, you have that option as well. We could also still move the bishop, move the knight back. If you go here and they take that way, then you could take there, and now you just have a normal game. So you're not losing by any stretch of imagination. So I think you probably thought your knight was trapped or you had to go or something. But just going here would have been fine because you can protect stuff. You could also have just taken their bishop. Alright, let's take a look at this one. Made a scotch. So I do know, at least when I used to play it, I would go knight f6 here. And I don't really know the full ideas of everything. You are attacking like their undefended pawn and forcing them to do some stuff. But you go here, it kind of gives them like a good center. So like their queen is out, but you move your knight here, and now they can just push and make your knight go away. So I feel like this could be not the ideal line to go into, but this is really good. You find a good continuation to drive the queen away, and now you actually get tempos on the queen, and so that's actually, so things kind of worked out for you. Now you go here, which is kind of odd. You block in your bishop, like. Now, how are you gonna like activate the bishop? Are you gonna be in Keto and go like that? Like you don't really have to go here. I think the reason for this move is probably just to attack this undefended pawn. But there's so many ways they could defend like it. Like imagine they go something like this. It kind of looks like their king is just being unsafe, but they have a really good space advantage, so it might not even be that bad for them. Let's see, what does the evaluation say? Maybe it wouldn't like it, but yeah, I probably wouldn't like it for some reason. Actually, it's not the end of the world. But I guess, okay, just castling would have been the best for them though. Okay, this thing always flips the board when I turn the engine on and off. That's annoying. Okay, but yeah, but overall, it's like this was a move that looks like it was just to try to take a pawn, but it can easily be defended against, and it blocks in your bishop, so you have bad coordination. And actually, the problem with castling, because again, the point was to take a pawn, is that you just lose the queen to this pin. So it doesn't even work. And notice their move, they're just helping their development. Their castle, their king is safe, your king is still in the open, and you made it more difficult not only just to develop the bishop, but to castle king side. You don't want to castle queen side anymore because you moved this pawn, so you're creating a lot of weaknesses. So you don't want to go like material hunting in the opening, you just want to castle as quickly as possible. So like, and also there's like this principle of don't move the same piece twice in the opening. It's not like you can follow it all the time, but this line is kind of an illustration of why, for both sides, you don't want to be doing that because you moved a knight so many times already, and you didn't get your other pieces out in the game. Contrary to this line where this move, where I said I always play, this helps you, not only it gives you a tempo on there, but also you're just a move away from getting the bishop out somewhere. I don't know if it goes here or here, and then castling. Okay. Now you do find this, which is I've seen this in Puzzle Rush a lot, where you give this check, so it's really good because they're pinned, and then you take, take the rook. So that's really good. Now, okay, I do remember looking at this a little bit. They're in this pin, which is kind of annoying. You do have to go here. And now their main threat is to eventually go here. I would probably be looking into moving the king at some point, just so I don't get in the pin. Because if you just allow them to move, they go here, it's kind of hard to defend against stuff. You could eventually move the knight here and attack their thing, but even then, like if you just allowed them this move, they could just go here almost. So you do have to be very careful. They do go there and then you castle, so now you're just down material. So yeah, you would have had to do something to like blunder check and see that they're gonna go here and win this bishop. And this might be one way to get out of it. But you lose the bishop. You attack them. I'm trying to see if this makes sense, but probably not. Because like this bishop would be able to take. Okay, so they do that. And you attack their rook. So this is good so far. Oh wait, they went here, and now you can just take their rook for free. We've seen some stuff like this before, right? I think you didn't take their free piece. But this would have been, okay, look for checks, capture, and threats. Or here's a capture. If you just looked at all your captures, you would see this. Probably doesn't work because of that. And you would see this. Oh, it's just a free rook. So see how much time do you spend on that? So like 5 seconds. So you could have spent a little bit more time or just overall try to see like the forcing moves. So that's again, like I say, tactics. One move tactics are your main weakness. Like this game would have been super over just by doing that. And then they hang material. So that's nice. Okay, so this is good. Now you just want to trade down and win the end game. And that's what happens. So you trade it. They kind of resigned. They could have eventually been to this trade, but then they wouldn't have any more pieces. And you would have had a bishop. So good job. They just ended up resigning. But you were able to just win the rook early on in one move, and that's kind of like a big miss that I would focus on. Okay, you play the Albert counter gambit. I think Eric Rosen used to play this against me all the time. But again, I'm not really a huge fan of gambits. It's because I feel like a lot of times you're just giving up material, and now you have to start off from like a worse position. And if people are prepared against you, then it's gonna be like starting the game with a disadvantage. And it might win sometimes, but one, you don't know the theory as well. Two, it just gives up material when you don't have to. You can just play a normal thing, and eventually they will give up material themselves. So overall, I don't really see it unless some people like to just play them for fun. But yeah. Okay, so they go here, and so you just hang your bishop here. Because once they do this, if they were to move again, they would take your bishop, and you just move the pawn here. So again, similar to where you could have taken that rook, it's just these one-move tactics kind of end things. Let's see, do you win this game? No, you actually win this game, so, but you did just ended up in a worse position. So if you turn on the engine, you see white is +6. So luckily you were able to turn around, but again, like you would be hundreds of points rated higher if you just saw these tactics. So, and it's just looking for the forcing moves, every move on both sides. And I do know I have to make that series where the blunder check series I always talk about. I did make some progress in thinking about it. So what I realized is I should use miniature games, so games that are under 25 moves, under 20 moves. And that'll also help keep the video shorter. And a lot of people when starting out, like they like looking at shorter games than like long end games anyway. So it works out for a lot of reasons. Plus, this was a blunder that happened on move 6, so this kind of game would be super relevant for that series if I was doing it. So more practice will come on that soon. And then look at this. So you went here, you're attacking the knight, so if you were to move again, you're just going to take, and they just moved a pawn. So again, they also failed on the blunder check. So you got the piece right back, attacking the queen, attacking the queen some more, defending the knight. Okay, rook on the 7th. Oh, and then they just hang their queen, and they resign before you even get a chance to take it. Okay, this was a game you won pretty quickly. Was this the... Okay, this was the one I saw. There was nothing really going on in this game. I think they just resigned for some reason. Like, their time, they spent like 2 minutes on this move, so I think they had to go, or... I don't know what they were doing. They weren't playing chess. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Okay, again, you're playing the Alvin counter gambit. And I don't know if you're changing the openings like a lot. Like, I feel like a lot of people, they might be like looking at YouTube how to get better. That's part of why some people are here nowadays. Um, and you see, there's a lot of opening. Well, one, there's a lot of opening books. Two, a lot of channels, they'll probably cover like tons of different openings because everyone wants to learn like how to start the game and play like their favorite player or so on. And the problem with trying out too many openings is that you don't really get too good with any of them. So you want to pick like a repertoire and then kind of just stick with it for a while. And I know like I always stress just like tactics, but and I haven't really gone over like any opening stuff because one, I don't even know 100% how like the best way to cover it, even for myself. But I know the way I learned was kind of inefficient, and um, it might not be for everyone. But I do think in general, it's not a bad idea to just pick solid openings and just play them over and over because you'll get the similar kind of positions and learn what to do. And it'll also help you play faster and accurate because you'll know kind of the responses automatically to some moves instead of like switching things up and then having worse results all the time. Because I don't think I was seeing this too often before. Although, I don't know, I could be wrong. Maybe you've always been playing the album counter gambit. Okay, but let's see what's going on here. You take, and you take the pawn. Okay, they're attacking the queen. They're also gonna take that, it looks like. And now you can't castle, and that's kind of unfortunate. Okay, here's want everyone to pause the video and find a move for black. Okay, so the move you should see is bishop b4 check, because a discovered attack, it checks the king, but it also opens up the bishop to just be taken. So you ended up playing this, attacking the rook. This looks good on paper because the rook can't go here either because the queen can take. Let's see, what is the problem with this? Actually, oh, the problem is actually just queen d7. They're checking, and you're almost losing. Okay, so now you take a castle, but at some point, like, you have to get your queen to help defend against this stuff because this won't last forever. But you go there, and now, okay, blunder check. They are threatening checkmate. So if they move again, they're going queen f7, and you're going to lose. So again, people, you can pause the video, try to see how are you going to defend against this checkmate. Okay, so there are two ways that I see, and there might only be two ways immediately. Actually, I know there's three. I looked at this a little bit earlier. So the third one actually has to do with just sacrificing the bishop, because technically the check, they have to move the king, and then you can do one of the other ones. But the main two ways to defend are knight h6 and knight e7. So knight h6 will defend the pawn. Knight e7 will block the queen from the pawn. Now, knight h6 isn't the best because, like, take a look at what happens if they go here. Now they're threatening to remove the knight and then checkmate. And so it becomes a lot harder to defend this position. Let's see, if we turn the engine on, we see we'd have to go queen a6, and then if they take, again, we can't take with the pawn because we'd be checkmated. But we'd have to give this check, and then after the king moves, take with the g-pawn, and then the queen is guarding. So there's like a whole lot of things you would have to just calculate to really make knight h6 work. And the way to kind of avoid it in the first place is just understanding that if they go here, they're threatening some nasty stuff. So knight e7 is actually the best in terms of for a human to try to defend. And now it's harder for them. Like, they can't even go here to try to threaten it because the knight's guarding. So this is a really good defensive move. But what happened in the game was knight f6. And then they checkmated you. So this was a failed blunder check. Again, this was a one-move tactic. because when they go bishop d5, they're threatening to checkmate you in one move, and then you did not like address the threat. And so again, just like we saw, so first we saw an example where there was a free rook and you didn't take it. We saw an example where your bishop was attacked and you didn't protect it. And now we're seeing a situation where they're threatening checkmate in one and you did not defend against it. So again, until these blunders are minimized, your rating will it won't progress as fast as it could, I think. So it is fine that your ratings have been similar for the past weeks, but to really make that push forward, like you would have to start taking more time, especially on the chess tempo puzzles, to build your calculation, and also just work on looking at all the forcing moves and not playing too fast. So let's see how fast did you play here. Okay, you actually took some time, so you did think about it. And I don't know why you might have, if you saw these moves, why you rejected them or settled on this. Because this does attack the queen and attack the bishop. And maybe you're hoping that you can win the queen, but you can't hope if you have to assume they're going to play the best move. So this is the way to go in blocking them. Oh wait, this game is the one I played that I uploaded already. So okay, let's see. It's been 46 minutes. So for next time, actually, what I can do right now? No, not gonna do it right now. So last time the suggestions were this stuff. I'm gonna keep this. So 15 minutes chess tempo daily, either 15 puzzles at 1 minute each. I'll say 10 to 15 puzzles. Also, I didn't have a S1 puzzles. How many weeks did I go doing that? Okay. 10 to 15 puzzles at 1 minute each, or 5 puzzles at 3 minutes each. And play at least one rapid game per day. Again, hopefully we see that that it really is like just the tactics and seeing the forcing moves. And hopefully like this is kind of helping. Like you see like how stronger players kind of analyze positions. Again, we're not going too deep into strategy and stuff because that's not like it would just be somewhat pointless to cover a lot of that stuff when these kind of blunders are happening. And literally, you'll be 1500 in no time once these blunders are not a thing. Because even like if I play a 1500 right now, that it's pretty much the same thing that would happen like in our game. The only difference is it would take longer for them to blunder. So the consistency of their blunders are lower, and it might take like a 2 move or 3 move tactic versus a 1 move tactic. That happens pretty often. So yeah, and then those actually do become more calculation based because it's not just, oh, there's a piece hanging, let's take it. It's they think it's safe. They know how to avoid 1 move tactics, but then sometimes there's like a surprise check at the end of a variation, and that can get a lot of 1500s as well. So yeah, luckily you're at a point where just improving your tactics will raise your rating a ton, and it's just a matter of time. So as long as you're actually applying yourself adequately, so like the more that we see of this solving under 1 minute and getting a lot of reds, the more likely you're just going to be stuck. And there's like only so much I can do at that point because I kind of try to show you the data, showing you that you're spending more time, you get stuff right. You're spending less time, you're getting stuff wrong. Look for the forcing moves. That's the only things you need to focus on while playing chess right now. And then you'll just start not blundering. You might be confused on what to do in the game, but it shouldn't matter. Like a lot of people are confused. Like even masters get confused in lots of positions. Your opponents will be confused. Your main job is just to play a move that does not blunder, and if they give you something for free, then if it looks safe, then take it. Okay, so I will leave it at that. And yeah, see you in the next one.